preparing to go live onto YouTube. 1 second. So we're going to do it live.
How's the image of the three? I can see you two guys pretty well, so and I can hear
They're
you.
looking wonderful, Ned. Trust us.
And you can hear me. I don't have to use like earphones or anything like that.
Everything's hunky dory, yeah. So we're now live. We're now live on YouTube. So you can put a big smile on your screen for everybody in case everybody's watching.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hello. There we go. We've got 4 people watching anyway, yeah. So hello, everyone. I hope everyone's well. Thanks very much for coming along to the 3 Teachers podcast with me, Ken. We've got Ned and we've got Ronan. Both of you guys in Canada, yeah. I'm in Scotland. The other 2 guys are in east and west of Canada, yeah. So a quick introduction. My name's Ken. In case anyone doesn't know, my name's Ken from Scotland in the UK. I've been teaching for about 12 years and I've been all around the world. I've been about 50 countries. I speak 4 languages. And most recently, I've spent 10 years in Bangkok, in Thailand, teaching university graduates how to get jobs with the airlines. So, you know, Qatar Airways, Emirates, etc. And I recently moved back to Scotland in October last year and then got stuck. I can't leave, you know. So I'm now living in my mum's attic room on the top floor, as you can see out the back here. And I've been here for now a year. I've never been out of this room, you know. So, so that's me, Ken. Thanks very much for coming along. And who would like to go next?
After you, Ned.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Ned. I've been in this profession for the past 23 years. I've been a teacher, supervisor, teacher trainer, everything. I'm a poet, I think. And I haven't taught for quite some time, but I still have my page, Ned's Dystopia. I spent a large part of my life in Ireland. So, Ronan.
In Ireland, really?
What part?
Drogheda. I went to
No way.
Drogheda. Yeah, I went to Drogheda Grammar School. So I spent a lot of time in Drogheda and Waterford, County Waterford, Dunmore East. So I've traveled to different places in the UK and Ireland and different parts of Europe. And I lived in Iran. I've been to different schools, American schools, British, Irish. So I'm a mixture of all of these 3. And that's about it, I suppose.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and I love what I do.
Excellent. You've not been to Scotland, right?
I have.
Really?
I have. A border village. I don't remember the name, but it was probably one of the most beautiful places that I did visit.
It will be.
When I was in the UK.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I love the Scottish and Irish accent.
They are the best.
Absolutely.
Actually, I'm watching this this series on Netflix these days. It's Outlander.
All right. Yeah.
I'm a fan of it.
It gets pretty graphic. Just let you know, man. They
Well,
don't leave much to the imagination in some of those scenes. I had to turn it off, actually.
Exactly. So if we have anybody under the age of 16, not 18, you know, don't watch it for a couple of years. Until a couple of years. Yeah.
Good. Welcome, Ned.
Thank you.
First time we've spoken, yeah. We've kind of spoken but commented backwards and forwards for about a year now. But this is the first time that we've been face to face, as it were, yeah, virtual face to face, yeah. Great, Ronan.
What's up, everyone? So my name's Ronan. I am from a little town called Sligo on the west coast of Ireland. Now I'm living in Kelowna in British Columbia, Canada, and I moved to Canada about 5 years ago now. So I'm not Canadian. I'm definitely Irish, working on getting Canadian citizenship, but everything is delayed due to the whole coronavirus pandemic thing that's going on. In terms of teaching, I've been teaching English as an additional language for, I think, 7 years now. Yeah, about 7 years I've been teaching it as an additional language. And yeah, I just love what I do. So
fantastic. Welcome along, Ronan. Actually, you probably don't mind. My family are from Sligo, you know.
No way.
Yeah, the Lynch family from Sligo. Yeah, the Lynches when they came over here a few years ago, to Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sligo is a beautiful town, but like I growing up there was so good because you got the mountains, you got surf, and it's not like a massive city or anything.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
that's why I like it.
So why did you go to the Canada?
Lots of different reasons. I've always been fascinated with Canada for some reason, just the nature, the pictures, everything about it. Um, Honestly, legal marijuana was a big part of it too. That's pretty handy. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's be honest and whatever. So I knew they were going to make it legal. I was like, all right, let's go check this out. And then I just stayed.
You
So
say fantastic. Excellent. So we've got Ronan and Ned. We'll put your contact details and your social media channels in the program notes so people can get in touch with you. Ned, you've had a comment from Mr. D43. Ned, my man, I track you everywhere you go.
oh boy.
Somebody from Iran, Mr. D from who's been tracking you, yeah. So the idea behind this Three Teachers podcast, for those that don't know, I get hundreds of questions in it every week, and instead of me answering them myself, we put it out to three teachers and we get their inputs into these questions. And I'm guessing that these questions are very, very general. Everyone gets asked them. So hopefully you'll learn something by it. And actually, the couple of podcasts I've done before, I've actually learned myself from it, from David, from Lily, from Stu, and from Teacher Will. So it's been very, very interesting for me also, yeah? So let's have a look. We shall go into, where are we? First question that we got from Get English Tips, Three Teachers Podcast. First question we've got, which is correct? Read loudly or read aloud, and why? Which is correct? Read loudly or read aloud?
It depends on the situation. It depends
Ronan,
if you're... Again, it's all about context. In terms of reading loudly, I mean, if you really want to talk to a lot of people and you're in a big area, then you need to read loudly. However, if you want to learn English and practice your English, read aloud is probably the right answer here.
So what's the difference between the two?
So for me, reading loudly would be just having a very high volume when you're reading. So if you're reading a book and you're reading loudly, it's almost like shouting. You're going to be shouting as loud as you can and everyone is going to hear you in the area. However, read aloud is actually a really good way to practice English, and you would just have a text in front of you and you would practice just reading out loud. So the opposite of that would be just reading in your head, I guess. When you read a novel or something, you're not reading every word. If you're on a bus, you're not going to read it aloud. So, yeah.
Ned, what do you think?
I totally agree with Ronan. So when you read something aloud, you're not reading it to yourself. So it's not silent reading. But loudly, you're making a lot of noise, I suppose. I don't know. Maybe it's not music to the ears. Actually, it's not, it's too loud.
Yeah.
So I would have gone for that option too.
Yeah.
To be honest, nobody ever asked me that question.
I think
but it's a really good one, though.
Yeah, using the adverb.
They're both adverbs.
Adjective, yeah. I think, one thing I always tell my students as well, and it's something that I practiced when I was learning Spanish, was I always told my students to read aloud. If you get a book and you just read the book, blah, 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 but you speak when you read, and this would be reading aloud, When I was learning Spanish, every morning before my work, I would get the Spanish newspaper and I would, just read the words, me llamo Ken, yo tengo 25 años, and I would speak Spanish, for about 15 minutes every day. And after about a month, my Spanish had gone from here to here, it really improved. And I was able to pick up the phone and, use the phone in Spanish, So I always say to students, like you just said, Ronan, is read aloud any opportunity you can, yeah?
And I always get my students to try record themselves reading aloud. And I think a really good activity is for students to, if they have a story, read the story aloud, record themselves, go off, do something else, come back, say an hour later, listen to it, and then read silently, and just to see if what they said aligns with what they're reading. And I found that has been real beneficial for my students. So
Actually, so they become the kind of audio book, as it were, yeah?
yeah, exactly.
Fantastic, that's excellent. Really, really good. And I suppose everybody's got a mobile phone, a cell phone that they're able to do that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Ned? What do you think? What do you think about reading aloud for students?
I think it's good because it targets the kinesthetic part of our brain. So yeah, when you do read aloud and you do it quite often, after a while, it's just like driving. You know, back in the old days when we used to not use automatic cars, our feet would be synchronized. You know, with the gas pedal and the clutch. So the same happens when we're practicing any language, I think. So when we read something aloud, we're hearing ourselves. At first, we don't like the sound of ourselves. We don't like our own voice.
Yeah.
But after a while, we get used to that. And then this gives us the incentive to do it more often. And it becomes a part of the kinesthetic. And it becomes more natural. And that's where natural English comes from.
Yeah. What do you think? A lot of students have said, well, what happens if I'm not actually pronouncing the words correctly? How do we get around that, do you think?
Well, I think by checking, you know, shadowing. A lot of people believe in shadowing. I think it's not so bad. Yeah, it's not so bad. Shadowing does help. A lot of teachers are in favor of this. It works for some people, you know, because we have different learning styles. So it depends on what, you know, works for you, I suppose.
Yeah.
Language.
Absolutely.
I think a great way to navigate the pronunciation would be for the teacher to also read a story. So then students can compare their recording to your recording, and then they would be able to make comparisons between the two of them. So lead by example in that way.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I am against, Ken and Ronan, is when the teacher gets one student to read out loud in front of the whole class. That's kind of pointless because it's not that person might not be a very good sample reader. So the teacher thing that you said, I agree with, but you know, getting a student to read out loud, you know, that's kind of dated, and you know, a lot of teachers are against it. I'm one of those.
Yeah, I remember being in my school and teacher going round, right, Kenneth, page number 1.
Master Ken.
Absolutely. Brilliant, excellent. Anything else you want to add on to here? Anything else you would like to add? No? Excellent. So read loudly is to raise your voice, and read aloud is to speak when you read, in a nutshell, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Cool. Okay, next question we've got is how to pronounce these 4 words. Now we've got, it's difficult with pronunciation because, you know, I guess there's not one specific way to say everything, right? So we've got 4 words. Who wants to give us their interpretation of these words first of all? Anyone?
Go on, Ned.
Yeah, well, we're going live, so you know some of the things that we do tell our students we can't like say it here. So with the British, you know, you have to be very careful with the can and the can't.
Yeah.
Why? What would it sound like?
Well, Ronan, you know, some students when they're experimenting, you know, with the can't.
There we go.
Yeah. Well. Well. Anyway. Yeah, we have to shadow a lot on that if we are practicing British. But you know, here we have the Celtic Club, so we don't have a problem with that. Yeah. Yeah. So want and won't. Yeah. Want and won't. Want, won't, and can and can't.
Can and can't.
But in a sentence, it's going to sound different because we kind of use can. If it's like all blended together. So can I see that? No, you can't. So we don't kind of hear the T there.
Right.
So yeah, in a sentence it's going to sound different than when we emphasize on the words and we're actually pronouncing the words individually.
Yeah. Yeah. What about what about you, Ronan?
Yeah, can you just pull them up again real
I'll
quick?
pull them up. So I know we've got a short attention span here, you know.
Absolutely. It's early, man. It's early. Yeah, so like want
Because he's
and
not
won't.
drinking any Ishkabaha.
I know. So want and won't. How to pronounce these words? Want, won't. But then I guess the won't is it all just depends where you're from. You know, some people might have a hard T at the end, and then some people might have a weak T at the end. Like I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. In that case, it's a soft T. But then if you're trying to emphasize a point, I won't do that. You know, it really does depend on context. And this is the thing about accents. Everyone is going to say it differently, and like can and can't. Because I mean, certainly, you know, you might muck up the can't for cunt or something like that, and that's obviously going to land you in hot water. So I guess in terms of pronunciation, the can and can't are ones you would want to practice more.
Yeah. I tend to think for a native, when, as Ned said, when we say can, it almost becomes K-I-N. You know, I can go, you know, I can go later, you know, I can hear you, you know. And when we've got the can't with the T, you know, the chances are maybe there's like a vowel sound on the next word, so we can actually put the T onto the next word, you know, or it can join together, you know, I can't tell, you know, so that would be kind of like, you know, emphasizing the T on there, you know. But are accents important, do you think?
I just say love your accent, no matter who you are, you know. Always embrace your accent. It's unique, it's you. That's my attitude. I tell my students that all the time, like, so. Just as long as people understand you, that's the most important part.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Ronan, on that. And yeah, I think it's important to be articulate. You know, so we're clear and cut, and people can understand us.
Yeah.
But whatever accent you have, if you have a sweet, I don't know, Irish accent, a sweet Italian accent, Persian, Spanish, whatever, it makes no difference. You know, what's important is other people can understand you.
That's the most important thing, you know.
It's your identity, I suppose. Your accent is your identity.
And a lot, since I've been on Instagram, I've found that a lot of people, they want, you know, I really, really want to have a British accent, or I want to have an American accent. And really, there's not, I don't feel that there is such a thing as a British accent or an American accent as such, you know. If you're in the UK, for example, your accent's going to change from, if you live in the south of England to the north of Scotland, for example, you know, your accent's going to change. And a lot of people, they still have this, I guess, this image of having the received pronunciation, you know, the old style English accent from the 1950s, you know, that my grandma used to watch at the cinemas, you know, from the Patty News. But accent's not too important, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And even that is changing, Ken. You know, even I've noticed that, you know, people from the South, they're pronouncing it more like the Irish and Scottish, which has crept into this part of the world and, you know, into North America. That ah sound, you know, instead of the ah sound.
But you guys in Canada, though, I mean, Canadians are mostly Scottish anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
Scottish,
Canada's just a bunch of immigrants, a whole bunch of immigrants, and just living
We're a bunch of immigrants.
Oh, filthy working hard immigrants.
The bunch part, Ronan, you know, sounded a little Irish, you know. You bunch of whatever.
Bunch of hard-working immigrants.
Brilliant. Excellent. Okay, here's one. This is a great word. How to use the word fancy.
Oh, wow.
Fancy in a sentence, you know.
So it's funny because I would say fancy sometimes, and my co-workers would slag me off for using it. And they over here, they would see that as being a very posh upper class word.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It would be on the same lines as shall. Like if you say shall in a sentence, everyone will mimic a very British accent for some reason. I don't get it if I say shall. And I'm like, all right, guys, I don't know where you're coming from with the Queen's English, but whatever.
Brilliant. Fancy. It's something we use all the time. Well, and certainly in, you know, Scottish English or Irish English or English, I guess, you know. Fancy all the time. What does it mean, do you think, Ronan?
When we were kids, the biggest question would be, hey, who do you fancy? And it's like, who do you have a crush on or something? And then everyone would make fun of you. Oh, you fancy him, you fancy her, or something like that. So fancy would be to have a crush on a person. Yes.
Yeah. I know a style crush, yeah.
Yeah.
Style crush, yeah. Good. You use it at all, Ned? Fancy?
Well, yeah, I use both British, Irish, American, Canadian, everything now because I'm a mixture of all of these things. So to me, fancy has so many different meanings. One of them was the one that Ken mentioned. Ronan mentioned. So I'm not going to repeat that. And I suppose, I don't know, a fancy car means expensive, glamorous, somehow.
So it's a verb, it's an adjective, it has lots of different meanings and usages.
Or like, do you fancy a cup of tea? That's what the British, Irish, Scottish would say.
What does that mean then? You fancy
they don't use it at this part of the world. They don't use it very often here for that meaning. Yeah. But that's something that I would hear a lot when I was in the UK and Ireland. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, fancy a beer.
It's very difficult to
fancy a beer. That's right. Yeah, I always say I fancy a kit. Means I want to go to sleep. You know. And yeah, I fancy.
And it's like if I'm using it, I wouldn't usually say do you or do you fancy a beer? I would just say fancy a drink, fancy a smoke, fancy whatever. You know, and I say, hey, do you want to go for fancy a beer after work?
So it's very, very conversational use, isn't it? Yeah. Very.
Ronan, you said fancy a smoke, yeah? You wouldn't say fancy a fag here, huh?
Oh, hell no, not a chance. I made that mistake when I first moved over here, but
Did you really?
I was corrected, and like I've learned my lesson. So yeah. That's a very important point, though. I mean, like when we're talking about English as a global language, it is important to know what words you can and can't say in places. So like even just going back to cunt, that's something that we would say a lot in Ireland, but hell no, you don't use that in Canada, not a chance, because that will get you in a lot of trouble with people. And same with fag, you just don't say it here because it's a derogatory term. So
absolutely. I remember because my family are Irish. I remember growing up and all my old aunties who were Irish, you know, would say that, you know, the C word, you know. And they wouldn't even know that they're saying it. It's just part of their everyday language, you know. It's like the word, the F word, fuck. In Irish now, they've kind of changed it a little, so it's actually come. I guess it's a normal word, if you like. You know, feck. You know, they've changed.
We even have the smooth polite forms as well, Ken. Yeah, frickin'. You know,
frickin' exactly.
I just think I wish people would swear more often. You know, people would be a lot less stressed if they could swear and just really vent by swearing. So
I suppose you're feeling at home, huh?
Are you a swearer, Ned?
Before I became a teacher, I suppose, I grew up in Ireland, as I said, before I went to the UK. And when I went to the UK, everybody was kind of looking at why is this guy swearing, cussing and cursing so much? But here it's kind of normal. I don't know, Ronan might agree with me on that. So it's kind of like Ireland. Yeah, here the culture is very similar.
Depends where you are and what you're doing. Because like when I'm teaching, obviously I teach settlement English. So it's a completely different ball game. I teach students a very low level at the moment. So no, there's no swearing there. But when I have private students, it's a whole different kettle of fish. And I used to work in a garage, and when you're working in a garage, they have trucker English, and like, you know, you swear like a trucker. And I mean, holy moly, they can really have some creative ways of swearing when you work in the automotive industry. So
swear like a trucker,
yeah.
We swear like a trooper, I think this year. You swear like a trooper.
Swear like a sailor is another one, I think.
A mouth like a sewer, yeah. My grandmother. You've got a mouth like a sewer. Fantastic. So we've got, what was the word there we were looking at?
Fancy.
Yes. Fancy's got a few different meanings, yeah?
Yeah. Fancy car, fancy shirt. Do you fancy a drink, or who do you fancy?
What does fancy car, fancy shirt mean? What would fancy mean there? Just to reiterate.
Swish. Elegant, yeah.
Wish. That's very swish.
Fancy. Oh, it's fancy. Fancy means fancy. Of course it does, Ronan.
Fancy dress as well.
Oh, fancy dress. That's a whole, so that's a real interesting one. You know, you have a fancy suit on, but don't wear a fancy suit to a fancy dress party because it's a whole different story.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Brilliant. I like it. Fancy, fancy, very important word, I think. You know, certainly if you're looking to speak British English, fancy, yeah. Okay, what's the difference between talk to and talk with? Talk to and talk with. I think for me, when this comes up for me, students asking me, I always tend to say talk to is like a one-way conversation. You know, like maybe, you know, you don't reply, maybe somebody's telling you off or giving you into trouble or something like that. The conversation is one way. And talk with is more about kind of like a two-way conversation,
Yeah.
I guess. Would that be right? Was that what you would
I'd
say?
agree.
Like a word with someone. Yeah, have a word with someone, talk with someone.
I need to talk to that student after class. And there's a purpose for doing it. You know, if I say I need to talk to you after class, I have something important to tell you. And you've already planned it out in advance. Whereas for me, that's, as I said, talk with, well, we're all talking with each other right now, conversation.
Like a discussion type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk with, yeah, talk to. Do you think it's important to differentiate or to know the difference between them when you speak? Do you think it's really important?
I think it can be important. I would often say to my students, if they want to, like, going back to the reading and stuff, and they'd say, but it feels weird just reading out loud or reading aloud. So I say, okay, well, talk to your hand or talk to the wall or talk to yourself, for example. So, and then talk with, well, I mean, if you're talking with your hand, there's probably something wrong. So, if it's talking back to you, you know.
A little glove puppet, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. That was the old one we used to say, right? Yeah. Talk to. What do you think, Ned, about talk to and?
Yeah. So very briefly, what I always tell my students is, prepositions are the student's enemy, and probably even the teacher's enemy, because they're very difficult to teach. So something that you have to acquire over time. So, you know, in many dictionaries, they have frequent usage. It even changes over a course of time. So, for example, like get into mischief, get up to mischief. Both of them have mischief in them, but what is the difference? So we have to learn it in a context. We have to use it in a situation. You know, if you get into mischief, it means you get into trouble. But if you get up to mischief, you are causing that trouble. You're doing something that's naughty or mischievous. Yeah. So it's the same with talk to and talk with. So we have to hear it a lot. You know, we have to hear it used. So I would go for the two opinions that you had on that. So talk to would be like somebody like saying something to the other person, listening, and maybe every now and then communicating. But when you talk with someone, there's more communication going on between those two or a group of people. So I would agree with you on that, Ronan. But that's what it is to me.
And what about have a talk with? That's a different one again.
I need to have. Okay, so we're using talk as a noun. We're talking.
Yeah. I need to have a talk with John after work today.
Yeah, like a word with someone.
Yeah. Have a word.
A word is kind of, you know, I'm in trouble. That's, you know, teacher usually would say something like that. I would have a word with your boss.
Would have a word be stronger than have a talk to someone?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
I would say maybe a superior talking to a subordinate, or, you know, someone that has more authority over you would have a word or a talk with you. It could be your boss or your teacher or your professor or whatever. So that's how I would see it. But that's my take.
I think in British English, we tend to, different from American English, where they're very direct, but in British English, we're very indirect when we speak. So I think for me, if I was at work in my younger days and my boss said to me, I think we need to have a quick chat, which to me would be very, very serious, you know? So it's very kind of indirect language, right? Yeah.
The diplomacy thing, yeah.
Diplomacy, exactly. Excellent. Good stuff. Anything you want to add to that?
Not really. Just it's a really good differentiation because they are very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a good one. How to use you're pulling my leg. Here's my taxi coming again, I think.
Close the blinds.
Literally, or you know.
Well, the physio was pulling my leg.
What's you pulling my leg? How would you because I mean this is a very, very native English speaker thing to say, you know?
Yeah. Teasing.
I would say that you use that in response to a person you think is telling you a lie or a joke or something that's not real.
Okay. In
That
any
would be
situation, Ronan.
sorry.
In any situation.
In a humorous situation, you know, if like I'm trying to think of an example now. You're pulling my leg. Like if Ned were to say something that I do not believe is true, like say, hey, in Ireland, we smoke cigarettes the opposite way around or something like that. I'd be like, go away, you're pulling my leg, man. That's not true. Or when I said to you guys, I moved to Canada because of legal cannabis. Go away, Ronan, you're pulling our legs here, you know? And it's like, actually, it's true, for example. You know, I tell you something that you don't believe is real. So you can say, oh, you're pulling my leg.
So it's almost like a joke, yeah? But
yeah.
Are they meaning to be, are they meaning to be serious or not? Or do you know that they are joking? Or are they trying to be joking?
Yeah, they're joking and you're trying to get clarification if they are joking or not joking.
Right. Okay. Ned, is this something you use? Pulling my leg?
Yeah. So teasing. That's how I see it. For example, somebody says, you know, people in the US, they have 2 middle fingers. And that's why there's one of them always stuck up. And Ronan says, hey, don't listen to Ned. He's just pulling your leg.
I like it. Pulling my leg.
God, yeah, there's a lot of ways to use it.
We're going live here and we're talking about middle fingers and cannabis.
Hey, it's authentic.
It's authentic. What other ones have we got? You're messing me around. It's another one, isn't it? You're pulling my leg. You're messing me around.
In Canada, they would say you're joshing. You're joshing me. Stop joshing me.
You're joshing me. Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend in Thailand, he's from Ireland, and he always says, "Away with you, away with you." You know. Away with you. What's the other one? You're having me on is another one, isn't it?
You're having me on. You're poking fun of me, or he's just poking fun, I guess, would be another one. But yeah.
You're having me on is very Irish, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Is it?
It's very Irish.
Yeah. I think so. I've used it a lot, so I mean.
Yeah, people with Irish roots would have a tendency.
Yeah.
To use that. Yeah.
We would say in Scotland, we would say you're talking keech. You're talking keech.
Keech.
Keech. Keech is the Scottish word for shit.
There we go.
Oh, right.
A little Scottish word for it. So there we go. So you pull my leg. Really good one to put into your conversation, I think. Yeah. A really good one to use. Very, very natural if you use it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, which is the best, American English? What's that? I missed it there. American or British English, and which should we speak? Now, I get this asked all the time, and I never ever had it. I mean, I traveled the world. I've taught in Portugal and Spain and South America, and nobody's ever said this to me until I opened my Instagram account. Yeah, and I got taken aback, and I just didn't understand why. But this is a very, very common question. Which is the best, American or British English, and which should we speak?
How long is a piece of string?
Exactly.
I know.
I mean, you guys obviously have got. I mean, I've never been to your part of the world. I've never been to the States or to North America, so I don't really know the ins and outs of the differences, you know, between the two languages. Well, I mean, you guys have experience. What would you say is the big difference? And is it
vocabulary? Vocabulary is going to be different. We say sidewalk in Canada, whereas in Britain, I guess it's footpath.
Pavement.
Yeah, pavement. Yeah.
Pavement, yeah. Pavement.
Postman versus mailman, something like that. So it goes down to the local lingo, you know. I'd say when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And that's something that my family always make fun of me when I go home, because I will have these Canadian isms or American English and stuff. And they're like, don't forget your Irish, Ronan, and whatnot. So
I actually heard it there when you said garage instead of garage.
yeah. Oh man, and then the same happens when I'm over here and I let slip some Irish pronunciation and stuff, and then they make fun of me or something. So I get bullied a lot, you know.
Do you think the difference in vocabulary is a big problem to know the difference?
No, I wouldn't say it's a massive issue. I don't think it would hold you back. I do not believe that. Sometimes maybe. I'm trying to think of other examples where it would be important to know the local vocabulary. Any ideas, Ken or Ned? Sorry.
Yeah. When you're doing your G1, when you're doing the driver's test, you know, the first part, it's important to know the pavement has a different meaning here.
Oh, really?
They're actually talking about the road. They're not talking about the sidewalk.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that you have to know, because you know the sign might say when the pavement ends, that means when the road ends. The pavement here actually has that meaning. It doesn't mean sidewalk like in the UK or in Ireland.
What about
whoever's doing their G1 test, they have to know that.
Okay.
So there are certain words which are different when you're taking a test. Tests that are important that you only can have 3 mistakes in. The fourth one you might fail. So
all right, it's the same with anything, I guess. When there's exam English and there's conversational English, right? You know,
two very different things.
Yeah, subway has a different meaning here. You know, so if you ask for the subway, you're actually asking for the tube or the underground. But you know, in England, subway could also mean that underpass.
An underpass, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
So so long as the meaning is conveyed, I don't think it makes any difference whether it's British, Irish, I don't know, American.
Yeah, that's exactly it. As long as the meaning is conveyed and you're understood. Like, it'd be like going to Ireland and saying highway. Oh, I drove on the highway. You know, like, people will just smirk at you, but it's not as if we don't know what a highway is. You know, we just call it a motorway or something different. So
yeah. So it's not really any difference, British and American English, no?
No, it just depends.
Some freeways are not free.
There we go. The freeway, yeah, that's another one.
Some of them are not so free. You have to pay a toll.
Yeah.
What is the difference between freeway and highway? I don't know.
I think it's more like an expressway. That's what I'm guessing. So it's inside the city. It's inner city. So when something is inside the city and it connects different areas, different neighborhoods, or parts of the city, that would be like a freeway or an expressway. But a highway can be from like one town, one city to another. That's my take on it. But I don't know. That's something you'd have to ask a civil engineer, I think, because you know it gets a little technical there.
It's very technical, yeah.
You see them on the signs, and we use them.
Well, I mean,
did you say Highway 7? But you know, actually no. Highway 7 is inside the city here, but you know, does it go outside? So yeah, you'd have to ask a civil engineer for the difference between these. I mean, what's the difference between street and avenue? You know?
Yeah.
I think
is one of them north and south. Sorry, it's north, south, east, west. I mean, is that the real difference, or is it just because we say that is an avenue and that is a street?
That's civil engineering, yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the expressways and everything in the UK, basically, I can drive from the north of Scotland to the south of England in about 10 hours or so. You know, it's very, very small area, you know, where you guys in North America, as you say, it's like 8 hours flying from one side to the other. So you have got different kind of vocabulary for expressway and highway, different. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, vehicles. So in terms of vehicles, they're all completely different over here. So like a truck or a van, like a truck. Or what was the other one? I remember now, a tractor. So Ned, what is a tractor for you?
Oh,
a trailer? Right?
Tractor.
Tractor. Okay, so tractor is what we can have on a farm. Yeah, what we can have on a farm.
Yeah. And what about you, Ken?
a tractor's like a big wheel kind of farm vehicle, you know, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, over here it's not.
What
Over
is it?
here in British Columbia, anyways, and this is like what I was talking about with the automotive English or auto body in English. A tractor's like a JCB, like a digger.
No,
Really?
JCB.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
And I remember when my boss said, "Oh yeah, I just need you to clean the tractor," and I went out looking for a tractor, and I was like, "There's no tractor here. Did someone steal the tractor? I mean, there's a digger over there, but like, and
Oh, like the
so-
Bobcat. Yeah.
yeah, a bobcat.
Yeah.
So in where I am in Kelowna, like they would refer to a bobcat as a tractor, but for me, a tractor is the vehicle on a farm. You know, like a Massey Ferguson or something.
Mm.
Right. And also we have trailer and caravan, right? So we have
Yes.
trailer parks, not caravan parks.
What's the difference between a trailer and a caravan then? A trailer to me is something that goes at the back of the car and you put maybe your motorbike on it, or you put your sofa if you're moving house, you know. You put
Yeah,
your
for transport and stuff.
for transport, yeah. Does that be different to you guys?
It's I think you
It's like a house over here.
caravan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like a trailer can have both meanings over here. A trailer is like the Trailer Park Boys. Have you ever seen the Trailer Park Boys, Ned?
No.
Never.
Oh, it's like one of the most Canadian TV shows there is. I don't get half the humor in it. You know, I just don't get it because I'm not Canadian. But yeah, a trailer is like a temporary house that you live in, like a motorhome or something like that.
Ah, right. Mm-hmm.
That would be what it is. A motorhome that you just plant down in one place and you don't move. So not very motor-like.
A motorhome without the motor, right?
Yes.
Like a home. Brilliant.
So I guess in those terms, yeah, it would be important to know the local lingo of wherever you are. So,
But if you don't know, then it's not going to be a big problem whether
No.
it's American or British English, right?
no, 90% of the
If it's
time,
one word,
99%.
Yeah, if it's like one or two words, you know, in the context, you know, it's understood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult to understand.
So it's not unless you're getting a visa to go. So you know you want your visa for America or whatever. There's not going to be much difference between the two languages or understanding them, right?
And for,
I don't even know. In
um,
exams, would they dock you marks like in IELTS or something if you were to use a different, if you
No.
said footpath instead of sidewalk, I wonder?
Never. So it's not a big problem then, yeah.
Even
And you're
spelling
fine.
is acceptable, like COLOUR, which would be Canadian and British, but COLOR, which is American, both are acceptable in the IELTS exam. And
I always
for
got to
people
check that.
For me, Ronan, we have three languages here. We have the language that we learned in the UK and Ireland that we are using mixed with the Canadian. Then we have the
Yeah.
Canadian, and then we have the immigrants that have come here and they have their own version of the English language, and we have to adapt ourselves to that and try to understand that too.
Mhm.
It might be like we might have some Filipino coworkers, you know, some Chinese coworkers, people from different countries, you know, from I don't know, Cuba or whatever, and we have to try and understand their English as well.
I think
And
language is always kind of evolving anyway at the moment, isn't it? Because of technology, people are texting and everything like that at the moment, isn't it? So the language is always kind of evolving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. So no problem with British and American. Speak what you want to speak, whatever sounds good for you. There's no difference. What's the difference between in time and on time? In time and on time. Here's your prepositions again, Ned. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of them, you're exactly on time. Okay, it's on the dot, and the other one, you're a little early. So in is a little early. Yeah. If you're in time for a meeting or an exam, whatever, you might be 5 minutes early. But if you're on time, let's say your exam starts at 7, you're there exactly 7 o'clock sharp.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between in and on. So in is earlier, on is exactly on the dot.
Yeah.
Ronan?
I couldn't agree more. That's exactly it. So I always tell my students, be on time for class, you know, and that's a normal expression. Be on time for work. Make sure your homework is done on time. Or was it in time for that one? In time would be just get it done early. So now I'm confused.
I always think on time is like you have a specific time, like the class starts at 11 o'clock, so be on time 11 o'clock. I guess in time would be, as you say, arriving for something to start. Like the performance starts at 7, so I arrive in time for the show, I guess, yeah?
Yeah.
That
On time, exactly at the time you were supposed to do something.
Yeah. And in time, just a little
Before.
bit before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always used to tell teachers when I used to be a teacher trainer to be in time, like at least 15 minutes, before the class starts, so you get everything prepared. So I think for important tasks, we have to be in time, not on time. On time is not to be late, basically.
Yeah. Be right on the button, as we say, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On time is right on the button, yeah. Perfect. Excellent. Okay. Here's a very kind of native word as well. When do we use whatsoever? Whatsoever. Whatsoever. How do we describe that word? Whatsoever. Yeah. What would you say?
I don't know.
I have no idea whatsoever.
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what he's saying or she's saying.
I have no idea whatsoever. That would be how I think I use it. God, that's a good one, man. Let me think. Whatsoever.
You're making us think there, Ken.
Sorry.
I'm not ready for this shit.
Whatsoever, I guess, for me, whatsoever kind of means at all,
Yes.
At all. I have no idea at all. I have no idea whatsoever, yeah. But it's more kind of, for me, it's more like emphasizing at all, yeah.
Is it a gap
whatsoever, you kind of throw your arms up and go, whatsoever kind of thing, you're kind of emphasizing it, I guess, yeah.
Is it redundant, Ken? Is it one of those redundant vocabulary items that whether we use it or not? So it's something that some words we use, native speakers would use, and it gives the I don't know the sentence a little more meaning. And if we omit it from the sentence, you still can get the meaning across, but you can tell that person is not a native speaker. So I don't know. You can just say I don't know, or
I have no idea.
I have no idea whatsoever.
Or you can say I have no idea whatsoever. So whatsoever, could it be redundant here? Somehow, is it redundant language?
No, I guess I still use it anyway, but I guess we just use it more.
If you use it right and your student doesn't, so it makes it redundant somehow. That would be the explanation of redundant language, and certain.
All right, when it depends. Well, obviously this is a student question, so they are hearing it somewhere,
Yeah.
So,
it's very popular in Ireland. It's very popular, and I like my aunt has lived in the US for 30 years now, and whenever I meet her, I can always remember her saying that. Like, we had no clue what to do whatsoever, and it is just like at all. So definitely in Canada, you'd hear at all a lot, but in Ireland, whatsoever is used at the end of a question or end of a statement to emphasize the point that you just made.
Right, yeah. Whatsoever, howsoever, whosoever is pretty redundant. Whosoever shall speak, or
yeah, that's like a legal term or legal jargon, nearly. So
whosoever, yeah. So
what's getting biblical there, Ken?
Yeah.
It's very, isn't it? It's very, yeah. It's very.
Whatsoever, yeah.
Yeah. It's I guess if an English learner is using this word whatsoever, it'll be quite impressive to a native teacher if they're listening to it, if they can put it into their vocabulary, yeah. So
it will take no effort whatsoever for me to do the IELTS exam, for example. However, it will take a lot of effort for my friends to do it, and that just is a testament to how the exams test strategy and not language, but that's a different conversation.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. Right. So how can I use who's to say? Again, this is more
who's to say.
Who's to say? This is very native speaker, isn't it? Who's to say? Who's to say? What would you say to that? Who's to say? I guess for me, who's to say would be nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody
give
has.
Someone the right to do something. Give someone the right to say or do something. Say.
What do you mean, Ned?
It's kind of out of context. So I'm trying to think when I've used this. Who's to say? I don't
Who's to
know.
say it's right or
To be
wrong?
honest, yeah.
Mm.
Who's to say? Yeah, who's to say it's right or wrong? That's the context I would like use it in, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does it mean?
It means that
What does it
no
mean?
one is right or wrong. You know,
Oh,
who
and
has the authority
that,
to say that this is good
Who's to
or
be the
bad?
judge? Yeah. Who is to be the judge here?
Yeah.
perfect. Who's to be the judge? I like that. I like that. Yeah. So who's
I'm trying to think like when would we actually use it though in context? I mean, who's to say you can or can't do something? Who's
Hmm.
to say you can or can't swear? I don't know. Like who's to say you
Ethics, Ronan. You're talking
ethics?
about
There
ethics.
we go. Yeah. Yeah.
Morality
Exactly.
would be the more religious word. Ethics would be the more non-religious word. So yeah.
Yeah.
who's to say that British English is better than American English?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of
And
thing.
why do people always talk about British English and American English? I mean, come on. We have a Scot sitting here, an Irish person.
I know.
I
Well, I
know.
always tell my students I speak Irish English. That's what I tell them straight up. And if people say you speak British English, I'm like, actually, I don't. I speak Irish English. It's very fucking different.
I get comments on my Instagram saying, Ken, I like your British accent. But I guess it's not American, it's part of the UK, I guess. Just for the moment anyway. But
I get that all the time as well.
right. So who's to say means nobody's going to judge, yeah?
Yeah.
Who's gonna
No one has the authority to judge either.
Yeah.
So
Good one. Good one. Here's a grammar. Oh, I put a spelling mistake here.
oh, this is great. This is so relevant and important. This is oh, if I could just delete will from my students' vocabulary, it would be effing great.
Grammar with will plus be plus verb ing. Please explain it. Who wants to put on their grammar hat?
All right, so we'll be drinking beer tonight. I will be drinking beer tonight. It's extremely unnatural to say something like that if you're talking about yourself. So it's for a future plan, you know? I will be plus verb. I will be drinking. I will be going. I will be eating dinner at 7 p.m. It's just,
Yeah, I think it's the future continuous, yeah,
yeah.
I guess. So we use it to say that at a future point, like at 10 o'clock, don't call me because I will be
sleeping.
sleeping.
Sleeping. Yeah.
Always sleeping, yeah. So, yeah, so we use it more to show that at a future time, something is happening at a future
For an
time.
appointment. Now the more I think about it, you see, when I first saw it, I thought it was just like will future or present continuous for future, but will be plus ing. Like at Christmas, I will be sitting at home. I will be relaxing, anything like that, you know? So that is where I would use it for a future appointment, maybe.
Yeah, a future time, get a future appointment time or a future time, yeah?
Yeah.
Something is happening, yeah? But I guess when we speak, we won't say I will be doing something. We'll
No.
say like, we'll use the contraction, yeah? So at 10 o'clock, I'll be sleeping, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I'll be drinking in the pub until 10 p.m. when the pub's shut. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Scotland, yeah.
What do you think, Ned?
I see it's similar to arrangements. You know, the difference between Ghana and plus verb and the verb plus ing for future. One is an arrangement, the other one is not. So this is something similar like an arrangement, but with yourself. So as you said, I'll like on Sunday I'll be like at 6 I'll be sitting in front of the TV, relaxing, watching a movie on Netflix or something like that. So here you're talking about an arrangement, but maybe an arrangement that you have with yourself. So it's very similar to I'm doing that tomorrow night instead of saying I'm going to do that tomorrow night. So when you say I'm doing something tomorrow night, it's an arrangement. I'm visiting my sister tomorrow because she knows about it. Here we have an arrangement. But I'm gonna visit my sister. It's something that I've just decided to do. Maybe I haven't even announced it. Maybe she's not even gonna be home. It's something that I've pre-planned myself. So this is something similar to that, the arrangement that we have. with ourselves. So
You know,
I'm going to be doing something. I'm doing something.
Ed, the very first time I remember you put a comment on my Instagram, it was about this topic. I had done
Really?
something wrong in my video about going to and will or something. I didn't explain it correctly. And Ned comes in and I was like, that's what it is, you know. So, so you corrected me, which is pretty cool. Yeah?
Oh, well, I didn't mean to, Kev.
I was glad
I
it was correct, you know. It just clicked, it was correct. So the future continuous at a future point, this is happening, yeah. Okay, so we'll do one more, yeah, before we. Which one?
Oh, there's so many. That's crazy.
Oh, mate, you've got no idea. You've got no idea. Here we go.
You have inquisitive students, Ken. That's good.
My idea was I was going to actually, you know, do books with all these questions, you know, because there's just so many of them, yeah.
Yeah.
How to explain my point exactly? Great vocabulary to use.
If you were describing something like a situation or a cause and effect, and a person says something that you agree with, you could say my point exactly, perhaps. I'm trying to think now. That's not the best explanation for it by any means.
My point exactly.
So it's like someone is stressing the agreement of what you just said. So you say something, for example, the Scots are better than the Irish, for example, yeah? And Ned says something to agree with that, and I would say my point.
The Scots are better than the Irish. And then Ned would say because they
have better whiskey.
They have much better whiskey. And then Ken will go, my point exactly. So the Irish have the reputation for whiskey, but the Scots have better whiskey. My point exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But is that true? Is that true?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah, Scotch is better than Irish whiskey?
Yeah.
Apparently so.
I don't know.
Irish have better beer than Scottish, I guess, don't you?
Okay, you're talking about you're going to Guinness and all that. So,
yeah, Guinness has a monopoly, but Guinness are fading away apparently. Well, all the breweries are opening up now, so yeah.
I can't find Smithwick's here, Ronan.
That's good. That's okay. There's no problem about that. My point exactly would be, let's see. I'm trying to think of an example.
I guess if someone says something and then you give an example to back up that original kind of
confirmation
statement. Yeah, confirmation. Yeah, confirmation. Yeah, for I guess Canada's better because they legalize marijuana. Yeah,
and it is my point exactly. Like, so like I was thinking of a marijuana example. You know, I have a one-track mind, I guess. But if you were talking about reasons why countries should legalize marijuana, I would say countries should legalize marijuana because they can generate a high amount of tax. Then Ken will say something else for legalization.
Yeah.
And I would say, my point exactly. That's exactly why they should do it. So like I say, we can generate high taxes. Ken then says that, hey, it's proven to be medicinally beneficial. And that's another reason to support the argument for legalization. So I'd say my point exactly.
My point exactly, yeah. Ned, you agree with that?
I agree with it, but the only thing I could add is, you know, when students ask me, okay, when do we use, like, when they come up with a phrase, I would say, okay, what's the context? Because, you know, in different contexts, in some cases, you know, it could have a different meaning. In some cases, it doesn't. But then again, at that particular point in time, you might not be able to come up with something. So I always say, okay, what is the sentence before it and after it? You know, just tell me what you heard in the movie, because usually they extract all of these from a movie or series.
Oh, if you're watching Suits or something, like that would probably where it would come up a lot, like in legal terms, because, you know, there's a lot of arguing in debates or something like that, or politics. They would say my point exactly. Yeah.
But generally we use it to confirm, to back up an original statement. Yeah.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Perfect. Anything else you'd like to add about anything? Well,
This has been
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it's getting you thinking, hasn't it?
It really is. I've not done this much thinking in the morning in quite some time.
Of course, it's your morning, isn't it? Yeah. Well, guys, I mean that's been an hour up. I'm really chuffed that you came along, and I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope the people who are watching on YouTube and who are listening on the podcast found it worthwhile as well. Yeah. Do you want to say anything in closing, Ned?
Well, thank you. Oh, I'm going to jump in, Ned. Sorry, just being as rude as always. But no, thanks, man. Thanks for having us on, and thanks for setting all this up. Hopefully, we'll do more in the future.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, anytime you want to just jump on, please, you know, feel free to just jump on, you know. Ned, any words of wisdom to give to our students?
No words of wisdom, just, you know, I had a lot of fun too. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ronan. Thanks for having us on your show. And yeah, it was fantastic. We should do this more often.
Yes.
Indeed. I think so. All right, 1 second. Let me